This is Mike and Karen, and we're with G2M Research here at Flash Memory Summit, and we are doing interviews today for In the Hot Seat, and we're talking about what's hot and what's not in security, storage, and tech, all things tech. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike to do some introductions for our first victim, or rather guest, that we have on our new program.
So with us is JonMichael. JonMichael, nice to see you again. John has done a few of our webinars before. It's always great to have him on here. He's got good stuff to say. And JonMichael is talking for the NVMe.org here.
Yes, so I'm actually a product manager for Intel, but I also co-chair the NVM Express marketing work group. So whenever we get to talk about the NVMe technology, I'm always the guy that gets
That's right.
volunteered. But it's exciting stuff. But now, couldn't have imagined when we started this in 2013, 2012, that we'd be here today where, tens of billions of dollars of revenue.
It has really taken off. I have to say, I never had my doubts. I
Yeah.
think some people in the industry did, but it seemed pretty obvious to me. It made a lot of sense. So what is the big announcements you guys are having for Flash Memory Summit this year?
The big thing, we're just continuing the innovation. So there's 3 new specs that are released in 2019. So it's actually pretty big. So there's the NVMe spec, which is,
Yes.
I think you guys know, is kind of the standard for PCIe solid-state drives.
Yes.
It contains the efficient queuing mechanism and low latency storage stack and the command set and all the features that you need for an SSD.
And I think we can really call it the standard now at this point.
It is the standard, yeah.
Most
It is
drives
the
that ship are
the dominant
NVMe.
storage
That's right.
interface for data center and consumer
Exactly.
SSDs. So the big one, we have an NVMe 1.4, which we actually
Nice.
disclosed this morning. A lot of the new features. It's available on NVMExpress.org for people to go download and start implementing for products. But there's 28 new features for the product for NVMe in there. So a lot of it is around hyperscale data centers.
So we're not going to make you talk about all 28.
Yeah, I was
No,
just
but
going to say, should we give him a little test, see if he can remember all 28?
Unfortunately, I can't. I've been talking about we actually spent a lot of time talking about today. Most of it's optional features because, as you saw, NVMe's already had a lot of success. Now it's just kind of enhancing a lot of the other use cases like shared storage, high availability storage for enterprises, hyperscale data centers. So your big guys like Facebooks and Microsofts of the world. So a lot of the new stuff that's going into the spec is really just enhancing and tuning up a lot of the core principles and hardening the storage stack.
Excellent. So one of the big questions I keep hearing is, where are we going with NVMe over Fabric? Is this the year it's going to really take off?
Yeah, so the very first NVMe over Fabric spec was released in 2016, and we just are in the latest one, the 1.1, which is the second version, is in 45-day review, which means all the people that are NVMe members get to read it and see if there's anything it's like the final mile before it gets published. But the big thing that's in that is called NVMe over TCP. So this allows NVMe over Fabrics over standard Ethernet equipment, which is huge.
Right.
So a lot of the big changes, their startups, like Lightbit Labs, for instance, that are doing lots of software around this new NVMe over Fabrics and NVMe over TCP type use cases. So we're really excited for that. There's a lot of enhanced excitement. But yeah, as far as where we are with deployment, I mentioned, so the core NVMe SSD spec was really released in 2011.
Right.
We started seeing the first SSDs in the end of 2013.
Yeah.
I mentioned the first NVMe over Fabric spec is kind of 2016. So we're finally kind of start seeing them go into deployment right now. I mean, the storage stack fully works in Linux and Windows. They have products today, but I don't think anybody's broadly deploying it yet in the TCP space, for instance. But
and the good thing is, though, at least we have NVMe over Fabric on almost every major array vendor today is shipping some sort of NVMe over Fabric in one form or another.
Yeah, and one of the things we get asked all the time in the spec side is like, which fabric's the best? Which one do I pick? The spec is meant to be open-ended, and we let the transports do their transport thing. Some, like Fiber Channel and InfiniBand, are good at long distances. TCP is good for standard networking equipment.
Exactly.
RDMA is good for high performance, low latency. So every fabric has the goods and bads, and there are different use cases. So we don't prescribe anything like that. We just say, here's how to build a highly efficient storage protocol on top of a networking fabric.
Something for everybody.
Yes, but it's really one of the interesting things. We were just talking to Jay Metz from Cisco, who's one of the NVMe board members today, about this. But one of the cool things that when the fabric spec was being developed, a lot of the networking specs are just being developed in siloed, not really thinking about storage.
Right.
And a lot of the storage specs are just being architected in thinking about SSDs and storage and not really thinking about networking.
Yes.
NVMe over Fabrics is the one time we actually get storage guys and networking guys in the same room developing the specs together to really look at how it should be done end to end.
Well, and the nice thing is I think you're seeing people actually applying it to things other than just storage at this point, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Talking about process-to-process communications and things like that. It's very exciting.
Yeah, the ability for NVMe to be a transport is really really exciting. There's lots of the things that we did really efficiently in NVMe that people are now realizing, hey, that's a really good thing. We should go replicate this in other stacks.
Good deal.
Great, interesting. So you're here all week. What are you looking forward to seeing or talking about? Who do you want to see? What are the big, you came here for a reason,
I have all
right?
my NVM Express duties. So we are supporting the NVMe track. We have actually a 3-day track full of technical presentations on all the new stuff that's going on in NVMe. Some of the things, Intel is announcing one of our new EDSFF SSDs, so we're going to be showing that off here the next couple of days. Mike can find me finally later. You can show him what it looks like.
We have a webinar coming up. We'll have you.
Yep,
that'd be great.
We are on a market research panel tomorrow, where I'll be talking about Intel QLC technology and our vision for NVMe, which is really exciting.
Okay, that's what we want a little bit of, the highlights from.
Yeah.
Come on, what is the takeaway on all of that for you tomorrow? Or I know, a little bit of a spoiler.
No, yeah, the opportunity ahead is really just insane. Like, I think one of the things that was WD had a really good keynote this morning that talked about all the data being created in the world, and it's zettabytes, and we can only store a fraction of that because of the limited storage supply. And the companies that do store it a lot of the data stored on hard drives where they can't actually extract the value or insights out of the data. So as we move to QLC, as we move to this new storage paradigm, it's not a zero-sum game. We're not just going to say, oh, storage has to hit this dollar per gigabyte and it all switches over. There's lots of insights and performance and total cost of ownership for applications and insights and analytics that will happen much more fast, and it'll create the value, and the market will explode.
Well, and the first thing is, everybody thought the value was in we have to collect the data. How can we get all the data, as much data as possible, and compile it? And now people are recognizing, I think, that okay, that's great, we've got the data, but it only has value to the degree that you can make sense of it, and that's kind of what your next point was. It seems that you were going to start to get into is, how do we get the value out? How do we get the value out of that data?
Fast performance.
Which is, number one is get off the hard drives. Right. But I say that as an SSD manufacturer.
Hard drives, so
it's very easy. But no, one of the other important things about the vision is we actually have this vision for NVMe, which is you have one protocol across the stack that supports QLC 3D NAND, TLC 3D NAND. It supports our Optane technology. It's for storage class memory. So it's really one interface that combines all different types of media types that actually are fundamental to how applications run and work. And our vision for how to do that on a simple management plane, consistent across the board, that's industry standard across every single large tech company is really something awesome.